Think your lunch is weird? Maybe you're staring at a soggy sandwich, or maybe you're braving that questionable leftover from the back of your fridge. But trust me, whatever you're eating today, it's probably nothing compared to what our ancient cousins, the Neanderthals, used to chow down on. Wait till you hear what Neanderthals were really eating. Forget kale smoothies or protein bars. These folks were the true pioneers of extreme eating. Their menu was a wild ride through the Ice Age, and it's not for the faint of heart. Neanderthals roamed vast stretches of Europe and Asia tens of thousands of years ago. Picture this: icy winds howling, glaciers creeping across the land, and herds of woolly mammoths thundering by. These early humans were tough, resourceful, and always on the hunt for their next meal. They faced a world where survival meant adapting to whatever nature threw at them. Sometimes that meant hunting giant beasts, and sometimes it meant getting creative with whatever scraps they could find. But when it came to food, Neanderthals were, well, let's just say, adventurous. They didn't have supermarkets or takeout apps. Every meal was a challenge, and they had to use every trick in the book to make sure nothing went to waste. If you think you're a picky eater, imagine living in a world where your next meal could be anything from mammoth steak to roasted roots, or something even stranger. Here's where things get really interesting. You might picture Neanderthals as just gnawing on freshly hunted meat, but recent research tells a different story. These ancient humans were actually masters of meat preservation. They learned to ferment meat, letting it age and break down over time. This wasn't just about flavor, it was about survival. Fermenting meat helped them store food for the lean times when hunting was tough and fresh kills were rare. Imagine prehistoric jerky, but with way more funk. The process of fermenting meat meant leaving it out in cool, dark caves, letting natural bacteria and enzymes do their work. The result? A pungent, tangy, and sometimes downright stinky source of protein that could last for weeks or even months. It might not sound appetizing to us, but for Neanderthals, it was a lifesaver. But wait, there's more. Scientists have uncovered evidence that Neanderthals didn't just tolerate the occasional maggot in their meat. They might have actually welcomed them. That's right, maggots, or fly larvae, were a regular part of the Neanderthal diet. It sounds gross, but these little wrigglers are packed with protein and fat, making them a valuable food source when times were tough. Whether by accident or on purpose, Neanderthals were getting an extra nutritional boost from these tiny creatures. In fact, some researchers think they might have even encouraged maggots to grow on their meat, knowing that they'd be rewarded with a double helping of calories, meat, and larvae together. It's a survival strategy that's still used in some parts of the world today, where insects are a regular part of the menu. Now, before you gag, think about what life was like back then. When you're living in a cave, surrounded by ice and snow, and food is scarce, you can't afford to be picky. Every scrap of nutrition counts. Sharing a meal, no matter how strange, could mean the difference between life and death for your family. So, Neanderthals learned to make the most of whatever they had, even if it meant eating things that would make most of us squirm. So, why does any of this matter? Why should we care about what Neanderthals ate or how they survived? Well, it turns out that their diet tells us a lot about who they were as people. It shows us that they weren't just mindless brutes. They were clever, adaptable, and willing to experiment with new ways of getting food. Their ability to ferment meat and eat insects helped them survive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Archaeological evidence shows that Neanderthals used stone tools to butcher animals, prepare food, and even cook over open fires. They understood how to use fire not just for warmth, but for making their meals safer and tastier. They experimented with different foods, from nuts and berries to roots and tubers, and yes, even the occasional maggot-infested steak. This resourcefulness is a big part of why they survived for so long, despite the odds stacked against them. Imagine the scene: a Neanderthal family huddled around a fire, sharing stories and passing around a chunk of fermented meat. Maybe they're adding wild herbs for flavor, or maybe they're just grateful for anything to fill their bellies. It's a reminder that food isn't just about nutrition, it's about community, survival, and making the best of what you have. So next time you complain about cafeteria food, or turn up your nose at something unfamiliar, remember the Neanderthals. At least you don't have to worry about maggots on your menu, or do you? After all, some of the world's most adventurous eaters still enjoy fermented foods and insects today. Maybe we're not so different from our ancient ancestors after all. The history of food is full of surprises, and the Neanderthal diet is just one wild chapter. From fermented meats to insect snacks, our ancestors were true culinary pioneers. They remind us that survival sometimes means thinking outside the box and being willing to try things that might seem strange or even gross to modern tastes. If you're fascinated by the weirdest meals in history, and you want to learn more about how ancient people survived and thrived, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. We've got plenty more wild history bites and ancient food fails coming your way. And now the big question. Would you try fermented meat with a maggot side, or would you rather stick to your regular lunch? Let me know in the comments below, because when it comes to food, everyone's got a story, and history is full of surprises.